This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning. It's 9:30 Wednesday, September 21st, 2022. We'll call the meeting into session. The next item that we have is opportunity for public comment.
Is anybody online that wishes to make a comment? Hope? No? Nobody online.
Good. Now move on to item number 3, staff update. You're right.
All right. Good afternoon, or good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. The upcoming meetings are on the screen and available in your packet. All meetings are scheduled for 9:30 here in person at the SICCOG offices. Other updates are federal certification review that we've been talking about since May. We're still waiting on the preliminary draft report. Hopefully we'll have that sometime in October. Staff are still working on the Bell County Thoroughfare Plan. We are drafting the narrative for the chapters. They've gone through and integrated some of the information we received from stakeholders on the maps and are sending those out for comment from the stakeholders. So that process is moving right along. The Safe Streets and Roads for All match formula. Staff did submit the grant for the Safe Streets and Roads for All jointly with SICCOG. The match group has met. There were a couple proposed different funding scenarios. Of those, there are 2 that were preferred by the work group. I'm waiting on one more response before we present that information back to the TAC and Policy Board next month. We also have our possible tour of the Texas A&M Rellis campus slated tentatively right now for November 9th. If you are interested in going to that tour, please let me know. Right now I have 3 people that have showed interest. So if you are interested, please send me an email. A couple other things that aren't on the packet. The greenhouse, I had a meeting with the AMPO, the National NPO Association, about the greenhouse gas emissions performance measures that will be coming out in the future. Right now, those performance measures are open for public comment. There's no real data to go to back those performance measures up. They wanted to put those in place by October of 2022, which clearly isn't going to happen because we don't have the time. AMPO has pressed for, has sent a letter requesting that those performance measures, should they be accepted, not be anything that NPOs have to deal with until at least 2024, which will give us additional time to gather any data that we may have or that may be available, as well as to ensure working through any conflict, which some of these proposed rules have with other environmental regulatory agencies and any agency rules. The greenhouse gas performance measures, which will be a new performance measure that we have to meet at some point. Right now, there's some concern that they kind of counter what TCEQ has in place already, as well as the EPA. So we're hoping they can get all of that worked through before they pass those down as a requirement for NPOs to meet a performance measure for that. The census numbers, we believe December of 2022, the new urbanized areas will be out. Those have a direct impact on the NPO as we are the urbanized areas for this region. I do believe there may be some changes needed to the bylaws once those come, because our bylaws membership is population based. So my proposal, once those numbers come out, will probably be that the chair of the policy board, chair and vice chair, maybe appoint an ad hoc committee to go through and review and provide proposed revisions to the bylaws as necessary. I know it's been quite some time since they've been updated anyway, so that may be a healthy refresh to those bylaws. The other staff updates are we have the air quality readings, which were 71 and 70 parts per billion. And that being said, Connie or James, do you have any additional for staff update? Oh, I do have the 2023 UTP from we did this presentation at the TAC meeting, at the last TAC meeting, and then I believe Jim showed it at the SIGCOG Executive Committee meeting. So the UTP was approved by the Transportation Commission on August 30th. So I just wanted to give kind of some highlights of kind of what it means for our region and some of the trend lines. And we will send out this presentation as well with the follow-up materials. So can you go back one more? So the UTP, of course, is TxDOT's 10-year plan for funding. It provides funding for 12 categories. And the benefits of the UTP are some transparency in planning and finances, accountability to the state, financial responsibility. Next slide. So the funding overview, the 2023 UTP is an $85 billion UTP. Categories which, typically we may see or have an interest in are highlighted up there, categories 2, 4, 7, and 8. Typically the MPO, has direct feedback and guidance for and allocations for 2, 7, and 8. We work closely with TxDOT on other Cat 4 projects. Oh, I'm in category 9, not category 8. We don't do much with that at all. So categories 2 and 4 for the overall UTP, we're right around $22 billion, $23 billion. For our region, it's a 212 million. It's less than 1% of the state total for those two funding categories. Category 7, about $5.5 billion. Our region was 75 million, and then category 9 is 1.7 billion, and our region was 8 million. And so historic funding, these are the levels of the UTP total funding since 2018. So as you can see, it's a pretty significant increase to $10 billion.
Is it based on population growth, that increase?
The increase that we see, I believe, I could be mistaken, is the ARPA funds.
Is the what?
The coronavirus.
Oh, right.
Yeah, some of the bipartisan infrastructure.
Right.
Categories 2 and 4, this is just a historical statewide chart of what those funds looked like. So it's not a significant increase from the 20, I don't have 2023 on there.
Yeah, it's backwards, 2023 system.
Yeah.
Oh, the number I see.
Yeah, so it's about 3 billion more, so nothing super significant. Next slide, James. Categories 2 and 4. That one. Just for the MPO region, these are the numbers from 2018 where we got 59 million to now where we're at 212 million. That's a pretty good increase over the years, but as you'll see in like 2019 and 2020, we had pretty significant funding. Category 7 and 9, this is their historical funding. Not a huge increase in those. The KTMPO region for category 7 and 9, James. Oh, here it is. We did see what is that, $10 million increase in Cat 7 and a $5 million increase in Cat 9. And those are specifically bipartisan infrastructure dollars. So what does it actually mean? Over the course of the next 10 years, we've seen an increase of the funding of $10 billion. This leads to more transportation projects may be funded, maybe not in our region, but they'll be funded across the state, which is good. And some of the more costly projects may be funded more expeditiously. Those big dollar projects that maybe the state will be able to knock some of those out, free up some of the other funding in the future. Some additional considerations when we see all the funding increases are inflation. We're all aware of that. So some of this funding, of course, as we've discussed before, may be needed to be allocated for projects that are already on the books that may not even be able to come to fruition if additional funding is not provided. And then the I-14 alignment, which has been in discussion, there's actually a meeting on that next week in Houston. That some of these dollars will be used for the I-14 alignment, I'm positive. And that's the end of the staff update. I'm open for any questions, comments, feedback.
Yeah. You understand that?
We'll send the slides.
Okay, everybody good? Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, which is an action item regarding approval of the minutes from the August 17th, 2022 meeting.
I'll move that we approve the minutes.
Mr. Adams, motion approved. Second.
Second the motion.
Okay, Councilmember Long. Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion on the item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next item we have number 5 is a discussion and action item regarding nomination and election of the TPPB Chair for FY 2023. Right.
So this is an annual election for our KTMPO leadership. We do have a nomination for the current Vice Chair, Coryell County Judge Miller, to serve as the chair for fiscal year 2023. That's what I have on that, if you want to open the floor.
Okay, the Judge Miller has stated he's willing to move up and serve as chairman next year. I have to go off since I'm term limited. My term as mayor will be over in May, unless there's a runoff, then it'll be July. So, but again, I can't fulfill a full term, so that's why we're doing that. Okay. We just need to find an application.
I think those
I was just trying to move it, we accept. We accept the nomination, election by acclamation.
Okay, anybody opposed? Okay, thank you, Judge. Judge Miller will be our chairman next year. Good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay, good. Moving on, number 6, discussion and action item regarding nomination and election of TPPB Vice Chair for FY 2023. Ryan.
Just like the previous agenda item, this election is held every year for the vice chair position and leadership for the Killeen-Temple MPO. We do have a nomination for a council member along from Temple. And that's what I have.
Okay. Right. Do we have any other nominations for floor? Okay, again, Mayor Davis, so you're making the motion to approve?
All right.
Acclamation. Yes. Okay. Okay. Everybody good with that by acclamation? Okay, Councilmember Long, thank you very much. I know you served
Thank you.
long and hard, and I know you'll do well.
I will be relying on staff hugely if judgment is not available.
That's what we're here.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, item number 7, discussion and action item regarding the KTMPO TAC and Policy Board meeting schedule for FY 2023. Ryan.
Okay, in your packet, do we have the schedule to show on the screen? Okay, TAC typically meets the first Wednesday of the month, and Policy Board typically meets the third Wednesday of the month. In the proposed schedule, you'll see there a couple of dates have been moved, and those were TAC meetings. They have been moved to the second Wednesday due to holiday conflicts. For which Wednesdays were that? For New Year's and July 4th. So they will be the following week. Of course, Policy Board typically meets on the third Wednesday of the month. We did not change any of those. If state or national meetings require the dates to shift, staff will work with the Policy Board Chair and Vice Chair to make that determination. If so, we will send information out. But as of right now, this is the meeting calendar as it's set for fiscal year 2023, unless there is any opposition or if there are any questions.
Any questions on this?
Then we do need approval of
Yes,
this.
I get that. And I just have one comment related to TAC meeting as we went through the meetings. The TAC meeting is scheduled for October 5th. Have they discussed that? Because that's TML. A lot of people are going to be in San Antonio on the 5th.
Unaware of that. We can definitely send out to see if we can get a forum. If not, then possibly work with Judge Miller and Councilmember Long on moving that meeting. Or is that for? Yeah,
October
October
5th.
20th.
Yeah, it's October 5th.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, if we know we're not gonna have a forum, then great, right down the street.
But we'll let them address that, and see who is and who's not going to, because all the municipalities, everybody doesn't go, so they're making enough people have a forum to be able to do that for, they can work that out.
And that's the TAC, not policy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, all right, so we've had that presented on the schedule for FY 2023. Any other questions for you, Ryan, on that? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve the policy board meeting schedule.
Second, Councilmember Adams. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And all those opposed, like sign. Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to item number 8, discussion and action item regarding resolution 2022-09, supporting October 2022 as Walk to School Month for October 12th, 2022 as Walk to School Day. Jane.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a resolution we bring before TAC and Policy Board each year. Just trying to support some bicycle pedestrian activities. This is a major thing that occurs across the country every year. And so resolution is the same resolution as last year, just with different dates. We do encourage our local entities to support walking to school. We know you do, but that's what it says in the resolution.
Any questions for James on this resolution? Thank you. None, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay, Councilmember Long. Second.
Oh, can I get somebody else? Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the item? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to item number 9, discussion and action item regarding resolution 2022-10, providing guidance on addressing KTMPO project inflation requests. You're right.
Okay, so everybody is aware that inflation is happening. Construction costs have gone up. And we did go through something similar to this with an Nolensville project recently. What we have in your packet for you to consider is a resolution allowing staff to make administrative amendments to our Transportation Improvement Program, or our TIP, up to the maximum allowable by the state, which is $1.5 million or 50% of the original construction cost, should funding be available. If funding is not available, then of course staff wouldn't make those changes. Anything that exceeds those amounts that are pre-authorized by the state, we would of course bring back to the board for consideration of funding. This would still only have an impact on the construction dollars. Still doesn't fund any engineering or any of the additional activities that go along with the project. But it would, if funding is available, be able to streamline the process in requesting new funds. So projects just don't go into a standstill while we go through a formal approval process and bring everything back to the board. Any amendment would be, of course, reported to the board at the meeting in our administrative amendments update. I believe I covered everything, but I'll open the floor to any questions, of course, if there are any for the resolution. TAC did have some discussion on this resolution. There were some non-material changes really that needed to be made. And that change was made in here, so.
Any questions?
Yeah, maybe it's semantics. The language in here doesn't specifically tell us understood that exactly what you spoke of in the resolution itself. And the therefore be resolved.
I think it's right here where it says, the policy board supports requests to increase construction funding that meet the STIP administrative.
Yeah. I like that maybe semantics where we actually say the staff.
And we can make that amendment, if the board would like. We're good with it.
And I don't know if that matters if somebody was looking in to see if anything.
Can you just speak up slightly?
Okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay, you're pointing that way.
I put up that, so I didn't see in the language where we specifically say staff. Make the amendment. And I was just thinking, I don't know if that's semantic. We can assume it, but if anybody else looks at it, I don't know if that matters. And it's probably just a few words or one word. Probably.
Just trying to think in my head how this verbiage should be.
For authorize the staff to increase construction funding.
Yeah, just change supports request to
Authorize
authorize the staff to increase construction funding for projects. Is that?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
State again.
So what we're looking at is an approval of the resolution with the amendment that was just mentioned to add the resolution authorizes staff to increase construction funding projects.
And the change would be in the therefore be it resolved, that the KTMPO Transmission Planning Policy Board, instead of supports request, authorizes staff to increase construction funding for projects that meet the administrative modification requirements subject to available.
Yeah.
You know, what you call that?
So target that. That's basically, it's a staff. In the very next, be it resolved section, says the policy board has to consider it for approval.
That's anything above the state allowable. So anything above 50% or $1.5 million would have to come back to policy board for a formal approval process. This basically streamlines requests below that, so we don't have to go through the formal process. We can just do an administrative amendment to our TIP.
And if requests exceed those, we cannot edit strictly amend. We must go through the formal process. So
I don't know if I answered.
and the first be it resolved allows staff to make administrative amendments that meet the SIP requirements, which are in the third whereas clause. And then the second, furthermore, is if there's a request that exceeds the requirement, it must go before the policy board, which it will take place.
Ready for on that?
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm going to approve the resolution with the amendment.
Good. Move to approve with the amendment, right, sir, on the amendment,
Can I ask a question?
please.
I support the motion. I just want some clarification. So we've got the policy, which kind of reiterates what we can do now anyway. So what's the mechanics behind it? Each individual community can come forward and request an amendment based on that. We talked about the inflation requirements back when Rolandville asked for their adjustment. I was thinking more of a kind of holistic approach to this in terms of if acknowledge the impact of inflation, should we just proactively plan for that? Like amend the project listing to reflect
Well, I think what happened, I think I understand what you're getting at, but I think because projects are so, they're all timed differently, we don't know what a project is going to look like for funding until they actually move forward. Like Salado, they may not know what inflation is going to look like for them at their upcoming project until they actually go out and rebid it now. So they really are not in a position to amend their project with an estimated cost, because then they go through the process again in the future when they actually get to where they're going to construct it.
What I'm thinking of is that the plan is underfunded currently. And because we're not, we know inflation is there, but we're not addressing it. And I was thinking that we should tackle the inflation issue up front and factor in that now. And then as project go to bid, we just react that. I would need to take each project, well, this is the reality of it. It's not that I hate anything about it. That each project that comes forward, has to go through an administrative process in addition to the bidding process. And so that may be, that extra cumbersomeness that may not be appropriate.
Well, and I don't think,
Thinking we kind of build it into it now.
yeah.
So to your point, the numbers that we have, those are provided by the submitting entities at the time of submission. And we typically don't go out and request updates. We trust that the submitting entities, you do your estimates at that time. So I think what this does is it allows, if you go back and take a look again and say, hey, we actually, it is a lot more now. We need to request amendment. This work going to be a shortfall of $1.2 million in construction. You can come and say, hey, we need some assistance. And this isn't saying you have to do it right before. It could be, I guess the onus is on the local, because these are our projects. I mean, we are helping fund the projects, but this is a city development project or a city project. So it's on the cities to look at their numbers and say, hey, these aren't matching up with our budgets. We need some more help. Let's go back to KTMPO and adjust the plan. Because we don't know what the project cost is, or what they're going to be. We don't know what the changes are. We can help, but we're not on the side of planning.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I appreciate the process. I'm just thinking that, currently today, the plan is underfunded. Every project is going to come back with a request to increase the cost. We know that. And just because of the reality. And I'm thinking we should be more proactive than waiting for the projects to come through.
But
Whether it's through the membership that says, go back and look at your project and, re-estimate the cost. Because maybe our projects were submitted back in 2020 or 21. Early 21.
Yeah.
And so, which are based on cost estimates from 2020. So, we know that we're going to fall short of the funding. And we should probably be more proactive. Not that y'all should do it, but maybe encourage the membership to go back and do the reevaluations.
and also to that, if we were to update the whole project listing that we have with inflationary dollars, that would, I'm almost 100% positive that would knock a couple projects off.
That's exactly what I'm concerned about.
Right. So at this point,
We have to have that conversation out there. The projects that come incrementally, we don't know who's getting painted into a corner.
at this point, I think the thought process is not everybody is going to actually request it. I know it's hyper impossible. Maybe not everybody is going to request for for some additional funding for some of their projects.
I hope that's the case. I'm somewhat skeptical about that.
Ryan,
That's good.
typically, how long does a project sit on the list before it gets funded? I mean, to his point, right, in inflationary issues that we have now, if it's an old project, 18 months, 2 years old, then we know that number's not right.
Right, well, and that's going to be all of the projects basically that are coming.
But what's the average length of time on the list?
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, they got
Like the Chaparral Road came in 2004, so, it changes due to political priority. I would say just the baseline would be 5 to 10 years.
And we do have, there's a project call coming up and people request that every entity resubmit their projects. So we'll have new numbers next year for the listing.
Okay, good.
Good point.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you allowing me to say those things.
That's good.
Just kind of reiterate the concern I had earlier. I just want us to be incremental in our comprehensive planning.
And I do think to James' point, at the next project call, that we do need to request updated projects and finance.
Thank you for.
Okay, on item number 9, we have a motion, Councilman Adams. We have a second. Mr. Everlaw from Copper's Code. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those like sign? Yes. Yes. Thank you. Next item is item number 10, discussion item regarding public input received through August 2022. James.
Yeah, we did receive two,
There's one since the last.
one since last, yes, one since the last meeting from a resident of Copper's Cove who's if you missed the last meeting, there was another comment there previously about I don't know if that was that's shared the last policy. 2 new comments in August.
Any discussion on that item? James? Seeing none, move on to item number 11, member comments. Anybody have a comment that they'd like to make?
Before everybody takes off, just so as a reminder, following this, there'll be a workshop estimated probably take an hour and a half for any members that would like to stay for new members or old members that kind of want to be refreshed on KTMPO.
I just got one comment. It's been a pleasure serving as the chairman of the past year. Again, especially for you, Ryan, and staff. Appreciate on behalf of the city. Parker Heights is the assistance and the briefing system provide for our city staff and our city council on speed. KTMPO is and what they do. So appreciate that. Anything else, group? Okay, time's 10:04. We're adjourned.
Very good.